There's only one stipulation to this list, is that it cannot go past 5,000 US dollars. That is a lot of cameras. We're not going to go through all of them. There's going to be plenty that I plow past. So take that opportunity to let everyone know in the comments what camera I should have put on this tier list. Let's get into this right away. I'm instantly bummed out that the Sony FX6 is not on this list. The Sony FX6 is currently worth $59.98 for the body only. So this is another thing. We're not going to go down the rabbit hole of used Facebook Marketplace prices, okay? We save that for the live stream. You can join us over there every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's why we're going to keep it to the actual worth value of the camera, right? Now, if you're someone like Red Digital Cinema or, you know, Nikon, I guess we call them. What do we call them anymore? We don't know. We'll just call them Red Nikon. We know that if you're that company, that you've been known to cannibalize your own inventory's net worth, right? So that's why the KOMODO now is on this list for $4,500. So that's actually the value, the worth of that camera right now, versus the FX6 has steadily held its worth value of $6,000. Now, this is a bummer because I bought my FX6 a year ago, brand new, for $5,000. So I do know that, well, you actually can find the FX6 for $5,000 over there. And because I'm going to be a little biased, I'm going to give this camera a pass because it's the camera that I own and use and shoot the majority of my stuff on. So I am actually going to include this, but we'll save it probably till the end. Okay, but anyways, let's start with the creme de la creme of cameras worth $5,000 on B&H right now. And the top of that list is the DJI Ronin 4D 4-axis cinema camera 6K combo kit. Holy cannoli, what a mouthful. You get the whole kit here, guys. $5,000. Now, we talked about this camera also on the live streams, a past live stream. Hey, they're all archived, by the way. You can go check them out. So this DJI camera here, we talked about it extensively because of a couple of shows, TV shows that have used it. And primarily, you all know what I'm going to say already. The Netflix show, what was it called? Adolescence or something? I don't even remember the name of it now. But certainly the style of the show is interesting. It's all shot very documentary with this exact camera. Plenty of BTS has shown about that. You know what? Yeah, this camera, I am a big fan of it. I've never even shot with it. The reality is, like, if I have not put my hands on it, I don't know if that would be fair to put it in the God tier. But because I know what it is capable of and I've seen what people have done with it, don't forget, one of my favorite movies of the previous year was A24's Civil War. That film was also shot on one of these cameras, right? They shoot a lot of awesome stuff on these cameras, so we know what they're capable of. I'm still hesitant to put it in the God tier, not just because I haven't got to shoot with one, but the reality is I do think that maybe there is some slight drawbacks to this system in general. The main thing I first want to think about is proprietary, right? Like proprietary pretty much everything. But I guess the argument is that once you have this camera, you don't need anything else anyways. I just don't know. There's still some hesitancy of me to put this in the God tier, although some of you would probably put it in the God tier, and if so, tell me why. If not, tell us why. But I am still going to place it pretty high in the A tier because I do think it is a camera that is a force to be reckoned with. And yeah, it is true. If you invest in this, you don't need, you could literally sell all your other AKS. Now, the downside to that is when you do that, you are now stuck into this system forever. These chicken head cameras, right? Unless one day you go, well, now I got to sell this, right? And then you got to rebuy all the other AKS. So that's where this camera is an anomaly, where the AKS is for this camera and this camera only. Whereas all the other cameras that we're going to have on the tier list today, the accessories are swappable for the most part. For the most part, you can use the same exact monitor on any of these other cameras. Now, the argument is, yeah, you could also throw a small HD onto this thing. I mean, I imagine it has HDMI or SDI, right? I would hope. But the reality is it's like, well, that defeats the purpose. They have this amazing monitor that's built in already. You know, that whole proprietary issue of it alone is the main reason why I would keep it out of the God tier. I feel like it's a little bit of a trap of a camera. I guess I should point out that it is something to be aware of that we're talking about cinema cameras to invest in, hence the budget cinema camera tag, right? So in terms of rentals, go crazy. Okay, the next one down, I'm just gonna go down the list. If I like it, we'll talk about it. If I don't, we'll ditch it. The FX3, yeah, man, come on. You guys already know the FX3 is, yeah, it's a very viable camera. Everyone and their mother talks about the creator, and it seems like that movie was almost a marketing ploy to sell more of these FX3 cameras, right? But, you know, that may be the pessimistic side of me there talking. But either way, yeah, we all know the reality of these cameras. They're super capable. I love them. There's not a whole lot to complain about unless, of course, you're a pitchfork for open gate. I can understand the argument for wanting open gate in more cameras, but I think that could be the only negative thing you could say about the FX3. I'm sure people will bring up IBIS in that. I don't, guys, I'm not going to talk about IBIS. We can talk about it when it's included in the camera, obviously, but I'm not a fan of comparing IBIS to IBIS. Like, I hear it all the time that, like, Panasonic, the Lumix cameras apparently have the best IBIS ever made. I mean, I come from the Lumix world way, way back, GH5 days I'm talking, so maybe the technology has improved. I'm imagining it has, but still, I feel like IBIS is one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, I don't really care. Like, when I'm shooting on my FX6, I don't miss it. There's never a time when I'm shooting on the FX6 and I go, damn, I wish I had IBIS right now. I've never once said that. So it's not something that's on my brain. And I shoot a fuck ton of handheld. I mean, I do use an easy rig. I do have a DJI RS4, but I don't ever really use the gimbal ever. However, I do use the easy rig quite a bit. So maybe that's why where I don't notice as much jittering handheld, but either way, it's just not something that's in the forefront of my brain. So I really don't care if a camera even has IBIS or not. I know a lot of you will, but at the end of the day, hey, the FX3 still has it, right? So that's why I say it may not be the best that you think is the best IBIS, but the reality is it still has it, right? So that's why I say there's not a whole lot negative you could say about the FX3. Was one of the hottest cameras for such a long time, and it kind of still is low key. So, you know, honestly, guys, I think I got to put it in the God tier. As much as I don't want to, I really don't want to put that camera in the God tier, but I kind of feel like it deserves it. People will lay down and die for that camera. Like, people absolutely love that camera still to this day. And that's why it's still worth $5,000 with a 24 to 50 kit lens. You know, it's like, holy God, it low key earned it. We all know it did. Now, here's an interesting contender, and I am going to include this. This is wild. So this is the Sony F5, the CineAlta. This is such a wild thing. It's only Super 35 though, so that may be a little bit of a drawback. A native FZ mount and a PL mount adapter, so you get both. I mean, 14 stops dynamic range. Now, I know we're just going off of specs here, but knowing that this is a CineAlta, I think it can hold it down. I mean, look, they've even updated it with the Big 6 menu, which Sony, what the hell? Why don't we have the Big 6 in the FX6? So mad about that still. Now, here's the thing. I don't know anything about it. I honestly don't, and because of that, I can't place it very high on the tier list because I just don't think it would be fair. I don't think it's fair to place things on a tier list just based off of specs alone. It's just not going to be fair enough to me, right? And so the sad thing is that I have not seen enough from this CineAlta camera that would allow me to place it very high on the tier list. But I am going to put it in the C. Let's call the C tier kind of like, hey, this is also a good option. So now we're going to get into this world of Kinefinity. Everyone talks about these cameras. Guys, this is one of the ones, I'm going to skip these. I don't know enough about them. I know there's guys out there that love them. And hey, this is your opportunity to let me know in the comments below where you would place some of these Kinefinity cameras. I have no knowledge of them. I also have no desire of them just because of the mixed bag of reviews out there on these cameras is really all over the place. And that always makes me a little nervous about specific cameras and honestly, this entire brand, right? And maybe that's the downside of, you know, social media and Reddit and things like that. But there's just not enough positives to outweigh the negatives when it comes to these Kinefinity cameras. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now of all the lore and things that I've heard about. But if you want to vote for this, then please let us know in the comments why. Or if you've had a negative account with these cameras, we would all love to hear those, right? This is just a lounge. This is just a hangout. Now, it is interesting we have the Blackmagic Design in here. We're going to skip this for now because this is like this full weird kit. And honestly, these kits aren't, I don't know who buys these kits. Like, honestly, who buys these kits? Probably like grandma and grandpa for their grandchildren, right? Like they go, oh yeah, my grandson, he's graduating high school and he wants to go to college for filmmaking. And they would buy you this heinous kit that comes with like some of these lenses that are just like plastic. We've all had the Rokinons. They're starter lenses, right? Like we know what they are. And it's like, yeah, I guess grandma and grandpa are buying these kits because no one else is buying these kits, right? Look, I don't mean to publicly shame you or privately shame you if you bought these kits, but I think this is not a way to go in my opinion, right? Build your own kit. We have plenty of options to do that nowadays. We're going to skip over that for now. Here's an interesting one, the Canon EOS R5C. Wow, with a kit lens, and it's 45 hundo. Look, I know you guys love your Canons, right? The Canon lovers out there are Canon lovers. There's not a whole lot of Canon cameras that I'm in love with. I know what's cool about this camera, though, is that it is a really nice option for B camera or C camera, however you want to look at it. B cam, C cam against your A cam. And I get that and understand that. And I know this camera is very, like the people that I know that do own this camera or have owned this camera and that use this camera, they speak very, very highly on it. And because I'm such a huge lover of the C70, we're definitely going to obviously include it, but I don't know honestly where I want to place it because I'm just like, I'm not a huge fan of Canon. Why exactly? I think the biggest reason why is the lenses. The lenses of Canon make me hesitant to invest in Canon cameras. They just do. It was different before they switched over to RF. When they were still in the EF world, well, that's back when everybody was already converting their vintage lenses to EF because EF was like, at the time, EF was the most universal mount, like the most versatile mount. The popularity of EF and everybody modding their vintage lenses to EF was because there were no mirrorless cameras quite yet, right? Until like, and then I think Sony dropped the E mount. And then after that, you have all of these other mounts, the L mount, the ZF mount, the RF mount. You have these mirrorless mounts. So EF isn't as cool as it once was. And the RF lenses are so expensive. They're just so expensive. And because of that, I just think Canon is a very pricey, look, and the reality is they're all pricey. But for whatever reason, I feel like Canon prices their shit just a little higher than everyone else. And honestly, I don't understand why. I don't believe that higher price tag is deserving when it comes to Canon. Now, I know the Canon lovers are going nuts right now. But look, I'm not going to place it super low, but I think I am going to keep the R5C on the B tier. Now, outside of opinions, the real reason why I'm putting it on B tier is because it's just not an A camera to me. Like, it's just not, even though I know a lot of guys that say it is, and I believe them when they say it because they've used it as their A cam, right? But to me, in my eyes, a camera that is of this body style cannot be a versatile A camera. It just can't. A camera like this that is a mirrorless camera with like an actual old school photo body look, right? The way the body is made with this flippy vloggy screen. I hate the flippy vloggy screens. It's got this big grip on it, right? It's great for taking photos, but even not, because it's even too chunky for that. It's obviously not made for taking photos. And yet they built it inside of a camera that's made for taking photos, right? This is like my biggest pet peeve about this shit when people, when these companies do it. The C is for cinema in R5C, and yet the camera is in a photography body. So for that fact alone, it will never make it to the A tier for me, ever. And let alone the God tier, right? So Canon R5C lives in the B tier. Here's a fun one. Here's one we roasted all over the place in long form videos and in 2-hour live streams. You got, again, another stupid starter pack. Now, here's the thing, though. With Red digital cameras, these starter packs actually do make sense because you need all of this stuff. And you know it's all Red approved because it is coming from Red. So, yeah, this actually isn't that bad of a deal. You know, you get the super fast card reader. But keep in mind, this is the old school KOMODO. You're on the old school CFast cards, the really old, crappy BP batteries. I don't even know why Red did that. That was the most weirdest move about that KOMODO camera. Why those old ass Canon batteries? We will never know. We will never know why they chose to go that route. I feel like that's all they had in the factory when they were making the KOMODO. And Jared was just like, hey, these old things work. And they're like, okay, let's use those. I just don't get it. It's so random to me. It seems random to me, that choice of battery. Like, I think we all would have killed for how the new KOMODO is with, you know, the proper V-mount or gold mount plate on the back. I think you can choose, right? Like what plate you put on the KOMODO X. Anyways, guys, you guys know I'm a huge fan of this camera. As much shit as I talk about Red, I love those guys. I love Jared to death. I love Phil Holland to death. I love all those cats over there at Red. I say it all the time. I come from the acting world. In the acting world, to actors, only 2 cameras exist to actors. Was it shot on Arri or Red? What camera did they use? You know, when you're working on low budget indie films and you're acting in indie films and like Lifetime movies, over at the crafty table, what are the actors talking about? Oh, they're just talking about the movies they worked on, what cameras they think they were shot on. But yeah, I mean, it is true. So because of that, because of my extensive acting background, the name Red has always been held like on a pedestal, you know? And that was such the exciting thing when this camera first dropped, because it was like, wow, the poor guys can attain Red now. You know, it's like, holy shit, dude. And it was cool. And yeah, and it keeps getting even more cool because the price, this camera is only worth $4,500 now. When this camera came out, I had the special edition beta tested white KOMODO Stormtrooper. I think I had to pay $7,000 just for the camera body. Just for the camera body. You weren't getting all these expensive cables and stuff because trust me, these cables are expensive. You know, and that's another fun add-on that you don't think about when you start investing in bigger cinema cameras, that all the little accessories are so expensive, right? And a lot of people, you know, if you're coming from the mirrorless DSLR world, you are not going to be prepared for how much all of these accessories cost. Every little cable is like $100, right? And you need a lot of little cables, right? Here's the thing. This is a great camera, but the biggest downside about this camera is it is so archaic, even now, and I know like some would say it's archaic just for the simple fact that it is like 5 years old, but I think even beyond that, why it is a bad investment is because of the media choice and the battery choice. I mean, the batteries literally are extinct. The media is extinct. And honestly, the batteries were extinct when this camera first came out 5 years ago, and the media was on its way to being extinct. And now, 5 years later, it certainly all is extinct. What I mean by that is it's going to be really hard for you to find media for this camera. And media that's good media and is not bought off of, you know, Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. Guys, do not be buying used media. That is a horrible idea for so many reasons, right? You never buy a used hard drive. That is my biggest complaint about this specific OG KOMODO. And I still think that the price isn't low enough, quite honestly, even though they've now dropped it to $4,500. But at the end of the day, we got to put it on the tier list. We all know what it's capable of, the amazing dynamic range, the images it comes, the global shutter, one of the most slept on features of that camera, and I love it. People are always like, oh, you never notice global shutter. Well, that's because you haven't shot on one long enough. I shot on that KOMODO for nearly 5 years. I see nothing but rolling shutter now everywhere. Like you just get so used to seeing an image a certain way, and then when you get away from that, now it's like, oh, wow, yeah. Like even now, there's a project that I'm editing right now that I directed, and I got Miguel Ordez, shout out to Miggy Vision. Luckily, I got him to shoot it on my FX6. And there's like so many walking shots in it. And yeah, man, it's some rolling shutter in there, even with the FX6. And FX6 has really good rolling shutter performance speeds compared to all these other cameras on these lists we're going to look at today. The Komodo does have this special. Any global shutter has its special. But at the same time, because of the AKS is such a bad investment for this camera, the camera overall is a bad investment because of the media and battery choice. I think I do have to kind of put this camera in the C tier. I honestly do. I just have to. I have to, because at this point, I think it's a bad choice. The C tier is for, hey, this is also an option, but it's not necessarily an option that I would strongly recommend, right? And it's only because if you're talking about investing in this camera, bad choice, right? Honestly, now that I'm talking about it so much, I got to put it in the D tier. We got to drop it down because honestly, it belongs in the D tier because it's such a bad investment at this point because of the media and batteries. That's just my opinion, guys. All right, here's one of my favorites. Oh man, this is one of my favorites. This is absolutely one of my favorite cameras. I never pulled the trigger on one, but I have been able to use it a few times and I love it. I love this camera so much. I love the idea of a little miniature squashed like C500 or something. But here's the downside. It's still kind of like a photo body on steroids. So it is weird when you're holding it. It honestly is. It does feel weird. It does feel like you're holding a chunky DSLR because you are, right? I mean, pretty much it feels just like one of those old school chunky DSLR cameras. The ergonomics are not fun, but everything else about this camera is fun. I do love this camera. And I know I said a lot of negative things about the R5C, but this camera I absolutely love, and I love that it's still out there. I love that it's still available for $4,400. I mean, that's cool, man. And hey, if you got more money, just go for the C80 because it's full frame, right? The C80 has so many better options. So guys, I am going to actually place this one higher than the Komodo. I absolutely have to. I have to, because, at least this thing has batteries and media that aren't, going to be impossible to find. So I think, honestly, well, damn, I was about to drop it on the B tier, but now that I saw that's where I put the R5C, I automatically have to put it in the A tier. I have to put the C70 in the A tier because I love it that much. It's not God tier, though. Isn't that funny? Because God tier should be like the ultimate, right? And the weird thing is, there is a part of me that would want to choose the DJI Ronin 4D over the FX3. I know there is. Like, I know I want to put the DJI in the God tier. Like, I know I do. But at the same time, that proprietary thing really has me bothered as an investment, right? And again, we're talking about if these are cameras that you were going to invest in, I still think the FX3 is the smarter option just because you're not getting locked into all this weird stuff. But here's the crazy part. At the same time, you're going to be able to do so much more stuff with this DJI camera because it comes with the gimbal, right? It comes with everything. Oh, this is driving me crazy. I think I do have to put it in the God tier. I honestly do, as much as I don't want to, because I feel like it's such a bad investment in terms of like now you are locked into that system. And when you jump out, you're going to have to get all the AKS again. Like there's nothing universal about the DJI at all. But at the same time, we just know that, man, it has that built-in gimbal. Like it's in all the built-in stuff that it comes with. And you're just like, man, those are crazy accessories that you'd have to buy for any other camera on this list. So as bad as I don't want to, I do have to put the DJI in the God tier. Wow. So for all the people that got mad and bounced out early, they're gonna kick themselves in the butt because their comment will look heinous now. Z-Cam, should we do the Z-Cam? I don't want to. These cameras, I just don't care about them. I do not care about Kinefinity. I don't care about Z-Cam. Please, if those are your jam, let us know in the comments why, or let us know why they would go in the D tier. For me, nah, not a fan. This stuff either Sony FX3A, I mean, hey, it's all the same shit, man. Panasonic, I don't know what this box camera is. I don't want to know. If you do, let us know, man. Let us know. Okay, now we're getting into this one. We have to include this in the list, the Pyxis. The Pyxis. Although, like, what mount would you guys get? I think I would get the Leica L mount, only because I love using my M mount lenses. I love using my M mount lenses. And even for video, I just do. I love it. They're very small. They're tiny. I mean, they're so small. This is a 75 mil f2. Look how tiny it is. Like, they're so good. And with a mirrorless mount like the Leica L mount, you can get a macro adapter, and now you can focus super close. Like right now, I'm filming on a 28 millimeter f1.9 M mount lens with a macro adapter on the A7C II, and it's just perfect, man. So I do think the Leica L mount is more universal than a PL mount, because you can always put a PL mount on your L mount. But once you have this PL mount, you can never use another mount ever. Like now you're just PL. So the Leica L mount, I think it is the smarter investment because of that more versatile mount. Now look at this, 3,300 bucks. Yeah, so at the same time though, you guys know I drug Blackmagic forever about this. I feel like there was some gatekeeping going on with this camera, and I feel like Blackmagic Design kind of rubbed me the wrong way, seeing how they collabed with all the Crater boys. Like everybody with Crater got this camera, and yet they tried to pass it off like it was an honest review. And yet, if you know anything about Crater, you know that those are just paid reviews. Like, we know what Crater is at this point. I think everyone knows what Crater is. And if you want to challenge me on that, if you're with Crater and you're going to challenge with me, if your name is Brandon Swashington and you low-key watch all my videos, but yet hate on me in your podcast, yeah, if you're one of those guys, okay, then explain to me this. Why is a review video about these Pyxis cameras presented as a review video on your YouTube channel, and yet when I go to the Crater website, and funny enough, these review videos, they turn into case studies. Case studies? Case studies for what, you may say, Justin? Well, it's a case study to show brands what this Crater company is capable of doing with their shit, right? And all of these guys are part of it. Armando is co-owner of it, so him and the CEO of Condor Blue own this company, okay? This is paid reviews. Like, this is literally the death of the honest review. These are all, you can find all of these same videos on these creators' YouTube channel, right? But look, who's the sponsor of these review videos? Blackmagic Design, right? So it's like, oh, you're sponsoring these reviews? Well, these reviews aren't going to be real reviews in the world of the kind of review that I want to watch if I'm making an investment in a camera. This is a little bit BS to me, guys. This company Crater literally is the death of the honest review. And that's when I saw that happening with Blackmagic, that's when I was like, dude, fuck Blackmagic, you know, like honestly, like, and see what happens every time I bring up Blackmagic, it starts rubbing me the wrong way. And it's because it brings up all that other negative energy. So because of that, guys, because of that alone, because of the disdain I have towards the company and the people they choose to sponsor and do their deals with, because of that alone, I must put Blackmagic Design. Well, I'm not going to do them dirty. I'm not going to put them way down there with the Komodo. But honestly, I think I should because of their ethics. So Blackmagic, you belong in the D tier. A reminder, I'm only putting the Komodo in the crappy tier because of the media and battery choice. I'm putting Blackmagic in there solely because I think they have poor ethics. Because of that, I'm going to skip over all the other Blackmagic cameras. But honestly, the real reason is because all the other Blackmagic cameras are a horrible body design. And you know, I'm telling you as someone that shot with both the 6K and the 4K. No, not a fan of that body design. That's one of the most horrible body designs. Plus, it's like this fake, weird carbon fiber plastic material. The camera has no substance to it, has no weight to it. You know what's funny about that too? In one of my reviews of the FX30 and the FX3, someone was trying to come at me because I was talking about how the cameras just don't feel substantial enough to me. And people honestly thought that I was crazy for wanting a camera that is heavy. It's like, do you not realize that the majority of your handheld camera jitters, the reason why you need to shoot everything on a gimbal is because you buy these light-ass cameras that weigh nothing, right? The reality is, you know, if you shoot on a real camera, like these Red Digital, these have substantial amount of weight to them. And when you're talking about something like shutter speed, weight is a good thing, guys, right? I mean, it just is. Now, we could do the FX30 because we did throw the FX3 on that kit as well. It's a great little camera. I used to own it. I used it a lot, A cam, B cam, all the above. It's a cool camera. It's really great as a beginner camera. I'm not gonna lie. It's a really great beginner camera. I'm talking about the FX30, but it's not God tier to me. And honestly, I don't even think it's A tier. I think it might be the C tier. And the only reason why I'm putting in the C tier is because it's like, yeah, that's an option. It's an option. But the reality is, compared to these other cameras in the B and above, it can't shake a stick at any of these other ones, right? It has to be in the C tier, primarily because of the sensor. I'm not a big fan of the sensor of the FX30, and also keep in mind it is only Super 35. Now this camera right here, the FX2, this is a new contender here, right? And we did a whole live stream not too long ago about this camera when it was announced. I think this is cool. I think it's a cool option. The downside is again, the sensor in this thing is not that great. And I know because I'm currently shooting on the A7C Mark II and it has the same exact sensor. The FX2 and the A7C Mark II share the same sensor and the same technology. So because of the sensor and all that, it's also C tier. It's like, yeah, it's good, it's capable. It's also an option, but not one I would recommend. Here's the funny thing too. I should address the elephant in the room. People will be like, damn, he's putting the Pyxis in the shit tier just because of he doesn't agree with the ethics and the people they work with. He doesn't like the people they work with. Yeah, it is. It's all of that shit, man. It's all of that shit. I don't want to help out any company if I don't agree with their politics and their business ethics, right? Like if I don't agree with how they do things, right? And look, it may not be their fault, right? Because in their eyes, they're just sponsoring these YouTubers. The optics of having a website dedicated as case studies, which clearly, when you do that, that makes your website about marketing. Now you're specifically talking about marketing. You're not calling these YouTube reviews on your fancy website, are you? No. And why are you not doing that? Well, because they're not reviews after all. They're case studies to pull in other brands, make more money, right? So if that's your whole aim with this, with whatever you're doing, allegedly, that's the way it looks like. It's the way it looks like allegedly that this is what they're doing, in my opinion, is they're attracting other companies by showing these case studies, right? Which are just paid review videos from other companies like Blackmagic. Let me ask you all a question. If you're getting paid to do a review, how honest, how brutally honest are you going to be about that product? If someone just gave you a check for $20,000, I'm not saying that's what Blackmagic paid. I have no idea what they paid, obviously. I don't know if they paid anything. However, it does say they're a proud sponsor. So if you hear the word sponsor, there is some form of payment in there. And when it's written on a marketing website, something that has the uniform of a marketing website, if I was to dress like a cop right now and go out and walk around town, I would be arrested for impersonating a police officer, right? So you can't make a website that certainly has the uniform of a marketing website and then pretend like it's not a marketing website, right? They only call case studies on marketing websites, right? So explain that one to me, okay? So if someone gave you a check for $20,000, how much are you willing to say negative about that product when someone just gave you a check for 20 large? Now, keep in mind, you might want to continue getting checks from said company. This is my whole argument. This is why I believe something like Crater is the death of the honest review. You would never convince me otherwise that it's not. And that's why I think it's a very bad thing. I think it's a bad thing to pay money for a review of your product. Right? It's fine if you want to give the product away. I mean, that's something that I think is a fair thing. But this idea of signing contracts for reviews is bullshit, right? Like, I do not believe in it. And that's why I don't sign contracts with any companies. That's why I don't do a lot of reviews here, because I refuse to play that game. And we all know why people do want to play that game. Well, because they're making lots of money off of it. They're making a lot of money off of it. But at the same time, I think it's a disservice to your audience. I think it's a huge disservice to your audience. Because you're being paid to review something. That is so fucked up, right? It doesn't make sense. If someone is paying you to review their product, you are an employee of that company. I'm sorry, but you are. So to say that you're going to do an honest review of something you've been paid for, get the fuck out of here. If Blackmagic is going to allow Crater to label them as a sponsor, that will forever mean to me that all the Crater guys, and you all know who they are, all their videos are paid marketing ads. That's why they're presented as case studies on the Crater website. And that is why Blackmagic will forever be in the D tier. Now what will happen is all of these people will try to come at me with lawsuits. And what I would like to remind them of is, don't forget about your boy Cam Mackey, who threatened me with a on a video. So let's not forget about that, because we all have that screen captured and we all have evidence of that. So if anyone's going to start suing people over crazy shit, I think let the games begin. All right, let's move on to more happy discussions, and let's move on to the mirrorless cameras, the Leica SL2-S. I absolutely love this camera. I think these cameras produce an amazing, beautiful image. Look, 4800 for this camera is a wheel of a deal. We all know Leica, I mean, I talked about earlier about Canon having extremely ridiculous price tags, but Leica, we all know, have ridiculously high price tags. We all know they're really, you know, mooching off of that German engineering, but hey, who can fault them? You know, the cameras feel beautiful in the hand. The images, I love the image, the video image. I'm talking about the video image. And if you haven't seen enough, go watch some videos on the Leica SL2-S. Beautiful images coming out of this camera. I am a huge fan of the Leica SL2-S. I just am. I absolutely love it. But now looking at the list we have here, I am going to place it quite high though. I'm going to put it up here in the B tier. Wait, what's this thing? Oh, wait, what is this one? There's two of these? I don't even know what this camera is. What was this camera? Did I accidentally put two FX2s in there? I might have. I think that's what I did. Anyways, Leica SL2-S is in the B tier. It just is. I think it's an amazing camera. I think it's an amazing choice, and I certainly would choose it over all of these other cameras. I know that sounds crazy. Now I'm sitting here going, damn, would I actually choose the SL2-S over the Komodo? If I was buying it, yeah. If I had to buy it, I would. Now, if I was doing a real job and I had to choose between the Komodo or the SL2-S, I would say, yeah, dude, all day, let's rent the Komodo. But no, if it was me having to buy it and make a purchase, SL2-S is going to get me way more mileage. Sony A9 Mark II. Guys, I'm going to skip it. I know this is a cool camera because of its global shutter, but honestly, I think it's better served as a photo camera and not so much a video camera, just off of the things that I've seen. But hey, if you want to argue for it in the comments. I'm going to skip this stuff, this R5. No, thank you. A7R5, again, this is not a camera to be used for video, in my opinion. A7R5 should be used should be used for photos. Nikon Z8, you know what? We will talk about this camera because I know a lot of people are in love with this camera. I love the specs out of it. I love that you can get internal ProRes RAW. I think it's an amazing, smart camera. I actually do love the Nikon image. I just do. They're old school. They're OG. I know I talk a lot of shit about Nikon and Red, guys, but it's really only because I actually do. I respect the hell out of Nikon and Red, even though you would never think that by the amount of shit I talk about them. But I'm really just razzing them, you know. That's all it is. I'm just razzing them. Now, if we get going on the other subjects, you're like, oh no, he actually does not like them. But with Nikon and Red, nah, a lot of it is in jest. It really is. So because I know everyone's a big fan of it, and I actually don't mind it either, I'm going to put it in the C tier. Again, I haven't personally used it. I would never, ever consider buying this camera, but I know people are a big fan of it. So that's why I say, yeah, it's an option. A7S III, look, I guess I'm obligated to include it because I use the A7S III so much and I talk about it all the time, or at least I used to. So I guess it would be a miss. But look, here's the thing. If I hadn't used it for a long time, we would have skipped it over because we've already included all these other cameras. Honestly, it's the same exact sensor as the FX3, but there are a lot of negatives about the A7S III. I've done a whole video about it. It's doing pretty well. But I think I have to leave the A7S III in the C tier. Because again, it's like, yeah, it's an option. It's not an option that I would think about buying right now, but it's an option for maybe you. When you're thinking about the A7S III, don't forget about the used market. So we're not going to go too deep on here. There's also the Lumix S1R II. Look, I guess it would be really bad of me to not include a Lumix camera. Me personally, I'm just not a fan of them. Look, I like the images they do. I originally came from the world of Panasonic, being a GH5 guy. Yeah, I mean, they're cool cameras. But at the same time, it's not something that I personally would invest in. However, I think we got to throw it in the C tier because, hey, this is also an option. Is it an option that I care about? Nope, but you might. That's why I say, let us know in the comments why any of these C tier should be higher. Because things that I've seen and you guys know, I'm a YouTuber, I research cameras just like the rest of them. I'm not blown away by anything in particular from any of the cameras in the C tier. The FPL, this isn't even an option, guys. FPL, I know maybe I should include it because, I was an FP owner and advocate for a long time, but I think my FP versus FPL video speaks volumes. That's why it's one of my top viewed videos, almost one of my top viewed videos. But yeah, it's definitely going to go in the D tier for the avoid tier, because thinking about the FP, I think the FP is a better advantage over the FPL. Normally, I would skip over that camera as well and just say, don't even think about it. But I know enough people are going to talk about it. Again, we're not going to do every single camera, right? I'm not going to sit here and do all the Nikons, all the Panasonics. They're all an option, right? This OM shit, definitely not even going to talk about that. I don't care about that. Here's a surprising one that I do care about, and this might surprise a lot of you, the X-H2, but that's not the one. I want the X-H2S. And look, you can still get one for $2,500. Brand new. Everything, I can't say everything, but the majority of the stuff that I've seen that people have shot with this camera, and just, I love the beautiful screen on it. I just think that this camera is a beast. It's a workhorse, man. You get f-log 2, internal ProRes 422. Look, I know it's only Super 35, so that is a negative, honestly, in my book. I know for a lot of people, Super 35 doesn't bother you one bit. To me, it kind of does. To me, that's really the only negative about the X-H2S. Everything else I absolutely adore about this camera, and I love the images that I've seen coming out of this camera, and I'm talking about video images specifically. Because of that, I am going to place the Fuji X-H2S in the B tier. I'm going to place it above all these other cameras. And now I know people are already losing their shit now that I've put not one, but two mirrorless cameras in the B tier above like the F5 and the FX2 and like some of these other cameras, maybe the Z8. I know people are losing their shit right now. But again, I don't always go off specs, guys. Like, I think it's a disservice to place cameras on a tier list off of specs alone. But again, if you are absolutely in love with the image and you can convince me otherwise, then please, by all means, let us know in the comments. Obviously, I have to talk about the original FP because I was such a strong advocate for this camera for so long, and I still stand by. I think that this camera is still a wonderful option for beginner filmmakers. And honestly, I would still put it in the B tier. I would put it above all of these other cameras. Okay, that's what we're standing by. I'm standing by this tier list right here. Whoa, buddy, that was a big one. I know there was oh my God, we can't forget. You guys almost let me forget. I told you I have to include it. I have to include my own camera, even though it's not fair. It's not fair because technically it's worth more than $5,000. But hey, I bought mine brand new a year ago for $5,000. So I know they're out there, and I know you can get them for $5,000. I don't know if you can get a brand new one for $5,000 like I did, but you already know the FX6 is going on the God tier because it is godly. The only reason the FX3 is in there because it's honorary, right? The FX3 is an honorary God camera. Thanks for hearing me out and letting me rant and rave and going crazy. Don't forget about those live streams. If you just can't get enough of my crazy ass, check out the Patreon. There are exclusive videos there every week. We have our own Discord, and we also now, I've been doing for 4 or 5 weeks now, members only videos. So if you want to be a YouTube member, I think it's only $1 or something, and members only videos. Just wanted to have a little something extra. It's because, and hey, you know, guys like me, I really do need the support of Patreon and YouTube members because, you know, I don't do paid reviews. I don't believe in it because to me, a paid review is a sponsorship, and it should be known that it's a sponsorship. It shouldn't be said that this is just, oh, this is just a review. They just sent this to me. No, there's more going on behind the lens, right? If you're getting paid, that is not them just sending that to you. That is you doing a sponsored paid ad. I wish we could start a petition that makes all YouTubers change their vernacular, where it should be changed to, hey, if you're exchanging money for a review, this can no longer be called a review anywhere in the headline, the thumbnail, nowhere in the description. It should forever be called a sponsored ad, because that is the reality of what it is. If money is exchanging hands, you know, and Brandon Swashington said it himself, he admitted on his own podcast that he treats the brands that he works with the same way he treats executive producers that he works with. So that's very telling, because we all know that executive producers run the show. That's what they're there for. That's what they're paying for. So if you're treating the brands you work with like they're executive producers, well, then you're obviously creating sponsored ads. Okay, guys, that's going to do it. I think I got enough people mad at me now. Love the support, love the hate. Let it be known in the comments which of these cameras should belong in the God tier, which ones should not belong in the God tier. Thank you all for the support. We'll see you in the next one.